What if the deepest hole on Earth didn't just uncover ancient rocks, but something that science still can't explain? What if the Soviets, in their obsessive Cold War quest for knowledge, reached depths so extreme they unearthed not only geological anomalies, but eerie sounds and unexplained phenomena? Did they really drill into a hellish underworld, or is that just legend? Today, we plunge into the chilling and awe-inspiring story of the Kola Superdeep borehole, uncovering what the Soviets found and what the world still can't explain. This isn't just a story of rock and earth. It's a mystery that goes 12,262 meters deep. At the peak of Cold War rivalries, while the United States poured resources into conquering space, the Soviet Union turned its gaze inward, deep into the earth itself, seeking to drill into the crust and uncover the hidden history buried beneath our feet. Not for oil or gas, but for pure science. This was both a technological challenge and an ideological statement. If the Americans dominated the skies, the Soviets would dominate the depths. Thus, in 1970, a team of Soviet scientists and engineers began drilling on the remote Kola Peninsula near the Arctic Circle, where the Baltic shields ancient rocks, some over 3 billion years old, offered a geological time machine into Earth's past. With the crust thickest on continental plates, it was an ambitious target, a test of both science and engineering against the planet's natural defenses. The goal was historic: to reach 15,000 meters, deeper than any well before, to reveal the true makeup of Earth's crust and verify if seismic data truly reflected reality. Drilling began on May 24th, 1970, using modified oil and gas technology adapted for extreme pressure and heat. By 1974, they had reached 7,263 meters, but deeper depths brought unexpected rock formations, density anomalies, and rapidly rising temperatures. Innovations such as a turbine drill, where only the bit rotated while the drill string remained stationary, helped push through unprecedented torque and tension, but every meter became exponentially harder, challenging both assumptions and machinery. This was not just engineering. It was a scientific pilgrimage, touching untouched parts of Earth for over 3 billion years. But in late 1984, after more than a decade of steady progress, disaster struck. During a short break for the International Geological Congress in Moscow, the idle borehole's unreinforced sections deformed under immense pressure. When drilling resumed, the equipment became stuck and the pipe finally broke, leaving 5 kilometers of drill string and turbine drill permanently lodged underground. 5 years of work gone in an instant. Instead of abandoning the project, the Soviets adapted, drilling around the blockage and creating a winding labyrinth of side tunnels through unstable rock. These deviations brought new dangers, different temperatures, pressures, and materials, making the well behave less like a machine and more like a living, shifting organism. One of the greatest challenges was heat. While scientists predicted a steady rise of 11 degrees Celsius per kilometer at depths between 2.2 and 7.5 kilometers, the increase doubled to nearly 24 degrees Celsius per kilometer, creating extreme and unpredictable conditions that pushed the limits of human engineering. As the drill reached nearly 12 kilometers, temperatures soared to a scorching 220 degrees Celsius. Heat so intense that it didn't just hinder the instruments, it destroyed them. Drill bits dulled rapidly, lubricants broke down, electronics failed, and even the strongest metal components weakened and warped. Still, the team pressed on. 6 more years passed after the 1984 accident before they finally reached their goal of 12,262 meters. Yet this achievement came at enormous cost: financial, technological, and human, and in the end, they had penetrated only about a third of the crystalline continental crust thickness. But extreme heat was only the beginning of their surprises. What they found deep below shattered not only rock, but scientific assumptions. At the 12-kilometer mark, decades of geophysical models and seismic predictions unraveled. The expected basalt layer, believed to lie beneath about 7 kilometers of granite, was nowhere to be found. Instead, fractured, porous granite continued far deeper than predicted, forcing scientists to reconsider what seismic boundaries actually meant. Then came an unexpected geochemical anomaly at around 9.5 kilometers, rocks containing up to a gram of gold per ton. While impossible to mine at such depths, the find raised puzzling questions. Had the gold migrated downward over geological time, or had it formed under extreme pressures deep within the crust? But even that paled in comparison to the next revelation: fossils. In rock over 6 kilometers deep and more than 2.8 billion years old, scientists identified 14 fossilized microorganisms, single-celled life forms that predated complex life on Earth. Some were even found within crystalline formations, not sedimentary rock, suggesting they had survived or been preserved in conditions long thought impossible for life. The implications were staggering. Life might not only survive, but perhaps even originate far beneath Earth's surface, hinting at a vast, hidden biosphere. As extraordinary as these findings were, they still fit within the boundaries of science, until something emerged that belonged more to legend than to geology. Among the many stories tied to the Kola Superdeep borehole, one refused to fade: the so-called sound from the deep. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, a Finnish newspaper claimed Soviet scientists had recorded strange, non-technogenic noises from the depths, an eerie chorus of moans, wails, and human-like screams. According to the report, the recording spread quickly through tabloids, television, and the early internet. The audio, distorted, chaotic, and chilling, was described by some as the cries of tortured souls. Religious groups declared it proof of hell itself, while conspiracy theorists claimed the Soviet government shut down the project to keep the truth hidden. Some claimed the Kola team simply fled in fear, and the idea that humans had dug deep enough to open a door to hell resonated with both ancient myths and modern anxieties. No scientific experiment before or since has stirred such profound existential dread. Yet behind the sensationalism lay a thread of truth. Officially, scientists denied the sounds of hell's story, noting that no microphones were ever installed on the rigs, only seismic and thermal sensors that measured pressure changes and geological shifts. Furthermore, the article that sparked the rumor had been published on April 1st, April Fool's Day, suggesting satire. But the tale had already grown beyond control. Its persistence was fueled years later, when David Guberman, director of the Kola Superdeep project, was asked about the myth. He dismissed the notion of infernal voices, but admitted to an interesting sound event: an unexplained noise followed by a subdued explosion deep below. No structural damage was found, and the event could not be reproduced. His honesty left the door open for speculation. Perhaps it was geological resonance, extreme pressure shifts, or something science could not yet classify. After more than 2 decades of effort, discovery, disaster, and controversy, the Kola Superdeep borehole reached its record depth of 12,262 meters in 1990, still unbeaten today. But the triumph was muted. Technical and financial pressures mounted, and the original goal of 15,000 meters became impossible. At the bottom, temperatures reached 220 degrees Celsius, twice what had been predicted, warping metal, destroying electronics, and dulling drill bits. Political and economic turmoil in the early 1990s, Soviet Union drained funding, and by 1992, drilling ceased quietly. In 1995, the site was officially closed, the opening sealed under an unremarkable steel cap. The surrounding facility fell into ruin, rusting equipment, abandoned offices, and graffiti marking the ghost of Soviet ambition. Still, the project had forever altered geological understanding, revealing flaws in seismic interpretation, evidence of possible deep life, and hints of mystery still locked within Earth's crust. Yet the Kola borehole was not the only deep drilling enigma. Across the world in Oklahoma's Anadarko Basin, the United States pursued depth for oil, not science. In 1974, the Bertha Rogers well set out to break records and within 502 days reached 9,583 meters, briefly the deepest borehole on Earth. Instead of oil, it struck a massive subterranean reservoir of molten sulfur whose heat and toxicity destroyed equipment in minutes. Operations halted immediately, the site abandoned, and $15 million in investment lost. Workers recalled the hiss of vapor and the stench of sulfur, a smell long linked with depictions of hell, fueling eerie rumors akin to Kola's. Though geologists recognize the find as a rare but natural phenomenon, the discovery challenged assumptions about what might exist at such depths. With no profit in sight and no reason to risk further drilling, the well was capped, its legacy fading into obscurity. But one more deep drilling project remained, one rooted in a radical new theory that sought to rewrite the very origin of oil, Sweden's Black Mystery. While the Soviet Union had reached unprecedented depths in pursuit of Earth's secrets, and the United States had faltered in its quest for deep oil, a quieter yet equally ambitious experiment was unfolding in Scandinavia. In the 1980s, Sweden launched a deep drilling project unlike any before it. The goal wasn't just to penetrate the crust. It was to test a radical theory that could rewrite our understanding of fossil fuels. What began as a scientific gamble soon turned into one of the most puzzling episodes in drilling history. Thanks to the discovery of the strange, jelly-like black substance found nearly 6 kilometers underground. The Swedish project began over the Siljan Ring, a massive impact crater about 52 kilometers wide, formed by a meteor billions of years ago and now the focus of research into the controversial abiotic origin of hydrocarbons. This theory proposed that oil and gas, rather than forming solely from decomposed organic matter, could also be generated deep in the Earth's mantle through chemical reactions, then migrate upward through crustal fractures, potentially explaining oil and non-sedimentary rock formations and hinting at untapped reserves in regions thought barren. Backed by generous funding and both scientific and commercial ambitions, Swedish engineers drilled a deep exploratory well into the crater, guided by geophysical surveys suggesting porous layers 5 kilometers down that might hold hydrocarbons. Hopes ran high. Success would vindicate the mantle fluid hypothesis and reshape the global energy landscape. But after years of effort and more than $60 million spent, the well came up dry in conventional terms. No commercially viable oil or gas was found, and skeptics appeared vindicated. The theory seemed destined for obscurity until July 11, 1987. That day, while recovering a stuck drill pipe from 5,945 meters, engineers brought up about 60 kilograms of a strange, black, jelly-like substance coating the tool's walls. Thick, sticky, and unexpected, it tested high in magnetite and paraffinic hydrocarbons and, intriguingly, contained biomarkers, chemical traces usually linked to life. Some researchers speculated it was exactly what they'd been seeking, biological material fused with mantle-derived hydrocarbons, perhaps even evidence of microbes feeding on deep chemical energy. Popular science outlets hailed it as a breakthrough for abiotic oil theory and a window into life in extreme environments, with some suggesting similar material might exist beneath icy crusts on Europa or Mars. However, a more skeptical team traced the source to a mundane cause. A week earlier, engineers had freed a stuck drill string using a mixture of soda, biodegradable lubricants, and polymers. Under immense pressure, heat, diesel fuel, and mineral water, these had chemically transformed. The black jelly was not alien life or mantle oil, but degraded drilling fluid altered by extreme conditions. The mystery was solved, at least officially. As with the Kola borehole, the deeper we dig, the stranger the truth becomes.